My name is Karen Nelson, and I never thought I'd be the woman hiding behind a tree, watching her life fall apart. It was a damp afternoon in our suburban Seattle neighborhood, the kind where the rain clings to your skin like a second layer of grief. I was trudging home from the grocery store, plastic bags cutting into my palms, filled with ingredients for Daniel's favorite lasagna, ground beef, ricotta, those little basil leaves he always raved about. After 25 years of marriage, I'd learned to carry the weight of routine, to smile through the small aches. But that day, routine betrayed me. I was cutting through Cedar Park, the air thick with the scent of wet grass and pine, when I saw them. Daniel, my husband, sat on a bench under a massive cedar tree, his arm draped around a woman with sleek blonde hair, young enough to be our daughter, Lily. The rain fell harder, but they didn't care. She was laughing, her hand on his knee, and he was looking at her with that crooked smile, the one that used to make my heart skip back in college, when we'd stay up late dreaming of a life together. His fingers brushed hers, tender, deliberate, a gesture I hadn't felt in years. The grocery bags slipped in my hands, the weight suddenly unbearable. I ducked behind a tree, my breath catching in my chest. My world shrank to that bench, Daniel, this stranger, the rain, and a cold that seeped into my bones. I wanted to scream, to storm over and demand answers. How could you, after everything? But my feet wouldn't move. Maybe it was pride, refusing to let them see me break. Or maybe it was something deeper, a numbness that whispered I'd been expecting this. I turned and walked home, each step careful, as if the ground might crack beneath me. All I could think was, 25 years. 25 years of love, of sacrifice, of me. Back in our kitchen, I unpacked the groceries, my hands moving on autopilot. The basil leaves looked too green, too alive, against the gray of my thoughts. I'd given up so much for Daniel, my dream of designing buildings, my chance at a master's degree, so he could climb the ladder at his marketing firm. I'd raised Lily, kept our home warm, smoothed over his tempers. And now that smile, those touches, belonged to someone else. As the rain tapped the window, I felt something inside me shift, not just pain, but a quiet, stubborn resolve. I wasn't ready to shatter, not yet. That evening, I stood at the stove, stirring marinara sauce as if nothing had happened. The kitchen smelled of garlic and tomatoes, a false promise of comfort. I set the table for two, just like always, the clink of plates echoing in the silence of my thoughts. Daniel came home late, the front door slamming behind him. "Hey, Karen, smells great," he called, his voice too cheerful, too forced. He breezed into the kitchen, planted a quick kiss on my cheek, cold, mechanical, and I caught a whiff of cologne, sharp and unfamiliar, nothing like the woodsy scent he'd worn for years. "Lasagna," I said, my voice steady, surprising even me. "You're late again." He shrugged, already flipping open his phone, scrolling through emails. "Big campaign at work. You know how it is." Liar, I thought, but my lips stayed sealed. I watched him, this man I'd built a life with, and saw a stranger. Where was the Daniel who'd danced with me in our dorm room, who'd promised we'd conquer the world together? His eyes, once warm, now slid past me indifferent. We ate in near silence, the lasagna untouched on his plate. "Gotta finish some reports," he mumbled, retreating to his office. I cleared the dishes, the routine a lifeline and a cage. As I scrubbed the plates, my mind churned. I'd spent years smoothing over his moods, forgiving his late nights, believing they were for us, for our home, our daughter, our future. But that woman in the park, her laughter, his touch, it was proof I'd been fooling myself. The hurt burned, but beneath it, something else flickered, a need to protect what was mine, to stop being the woman who just took it. That night, I lay awake next to Daniel, his soft snores a cruel contrast to the storm in my chest. The bedroom was dark, the rain outside a steady drumbeat. I stared at the ceiling, memories flooding in like uninvited guests. I saw us at 22, laughing over cheap pizza in our college apartment, planning a life of adventure. I'd wanted to design sustainable homes, to leave my mark on the world. But when Daniel got his big break at a marketing firm, I put my dreams on hold. "Just for a bit," he'd said, and I believed him. I took a part-time job at the library, raised Lily, and made our house a home, while he chased promotions and accolades. I thought of the fights we'd had, his sharp words when work stressed him out, my quiet apologies to keep the peace. I'd given up so much, not just my career, but pieces of myself, always thinking it was for us. Now, those sacrifices felt like chains. The image of him with that woman, her hand in his, twisted the knife deeper. I'd trusted him, loved him, and he'd turned me into a ghost in my own life. Tears slipped down my cheeks, silent so I wouldn't wake him. But as dawn crept through the curtains, a decision settled in me, quiet but firm. I wasn't going to let this break me. I needed to act, to take back what I could before it was too late. The next morning, I sat across from Jennifer at a cozy coffee shop in downtown Seattle, the kind with mismatched mugs and the smell of roasted beans. Jennifer, my friend since high school, peered at me over her glasses, her notary badge pinned to her blazer. "You look like hell, Karen," she said, blunt as ever. I stirred my latte, the foam swirling like my thoughts. "Daniel's cheating," I whispered, the words tasting bitter. "I saw him in the park yesterday with some young blonde." Jennifer didn't flinch, just sipped her coffee. "And what's your plan? Cry? Yell? Play the scorned wife?" Her tone was sharp but kind, cutting through my fog. I laughed, a dry, hollow sound. "I don't know, Jennifer. Part of me wants to scream, but where do I even start? The house, the cabin, our savings, it's all in both our names. I've got nothing if he leaves." Jennifer tapped her nails on the table, thinking. "You've got more than you think. Trust is sweet, but betrayal calls for strategy. Come to my office tomorrow. We'll transfer the house and cabin to Lily, secure your finances. You're not helpless, Karen." Her words lit a spark in me. I'd spent years being the supportive wife, but now I needed to be my own advocate. As we parted, the rain-soaked streets felt less oppressive, like they were waiting for me to decide my next step. The next few weeks were a blur of quiet rebellion. I sat in Jennifer's office, signing papers to transfer our suburban house and the lakeside cabin we'd bought for family vacations to Lily's name. My pen trembled, not from doubt but from the weight of what I was doing. It felt like betraying the life I'd built with Daniel, yet every time I pictured his hand on that woman's, my resolve hardened. I closed our joint bank account, moving the money to Lily's, and sold the sapphire earrings my mother left me, tucking the cash away. Important documents, deeds, insurance policies, went to Jennifer for safekeeping. Each step felt like unraveling a knot I'd tied myself into for years. I'd catch Daniel's eye at dinner, his face distant, and wonder how I'd missed the signs. He'd stay out late, muttering about client meetings, and I'd nod, playing the part of the oblivious wife. The kitchen became my sanctuary and my prison, where I'd chop vegetables with fierce precision, each slice a release of the anger I couldn't voice. I was still cooking for a man who'd stopped seeing me, but now every move I made was for me, for the Karen who'd been buried under years of compromise. The guilt stung, but the freedom tasted sweeter. It was a gray October evening when Daniel came home with 2 suitcases, his face tight. The rain outside mirrored the day I'd seen him in the park, a cruel déjà vu. "We need to talk, Karen," he said, avoiding my eyes. We sat at the kitchen table, the air heavy with unsaid words. "I'm leaving," he blurted. "I've met someone. It's serious." His voice was flat, like he was reading a script. I stared at my hands, calloused from years of cooking and cleaning, and felt only exhaustion. "I hope you won't fight me on the property," he went on, mistaking my silence for weakness. "I need the house. You can have the cabin, you love it there." I lifted my gaze, calm but unyielding. "The house isn't ours anymore, Daniel. I transferred it to Lily a month ago. The cabin, too." His face froze, eyes wide like he'd been slapped. "You what? You can't do that without me." "I could," I said softly. "It was joint property. Lily's our daughter. You won't sue her, will you?" His jaw clenched, cheeks flushing. "The money, then? Where's our savings?" I shrugged. "What's left is Lily's, for her future." He stood, knocking over his chair, shouting about betrayal. But I just looked at him, steady, knowing I'd finally chosen myself. Daniel stormed out that night, suitcases in hand, into the drizzle. I watched from the window as Jessica, the blonde from the park, stood by her car. He gestured wildly, explaining, but she shook her head, got in, and drove off, leaving him alone in the rain. A strange calm settled over me, not joy, but relief. The next weeks brought whispers of his downfall. Lily told me he was crashing with a friend, drinking too much, his once polished suits now rumpled. The marketing firm had sidelined him, his charm no longer enough. I kept moving forward, one deliberate step at a time. I joined a painting class at the community center, letting watercolors wash away some of the ache. My new friend, Mia, a retired teacher with a wicked sense of humor, dragged me to trivia nights, where I laughed for the first time in months. Lily and Jerry visited often, Jerry's giggles filling the house with life. But at night, alone, I'd stare at the ceiling, not mourning Daniel, but the years I'd spent believing in an us that didn't exist. The pain was still there, dull but present, like a bruise I'd learned to live with. I wasn't healed, but I was free. One rainy afternoon, the doorbell rang. There stood Jessica, her blonde hair limp, makeup smudged. "I'm Jessica," she said, voice shaky. "We need to talk." I let her in, the kitchen still warm from the cinnamon rolls I'd baked. She sat, clutching her purse. "I know you must hate me," she started. "I don't," I said, pouring tea. "I don't know you." Her words tumbled out. Daniel had told her our marriage was over, that we had an arrangement, that he had money, a house. Then it all fell apart, she said, eyes down. "He's got nothing now." I nodded, unsurprised. "He was good at selling dreams. I bought them for 25 years. She looked up, desperate. "He's drinking, lost his job. Could you take him back?" I shook my head, firm but not cruel. "I spent decades living for him. Now I'm living for me." When she left, I went to my balcony, tending the lavender I'd planted. The soil was soft, alive. I'd spent years creating a home for Daniel, but now every bloom, every brushstroke was for me. The realization felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. Spring came early, the Seattle air soft with cherry blossoms. My balcony bloomed with lavender and daisies, a small rebellion against the gray. I was painting more, my canvases full of bold blues and greens, and Mia had become a constant, her laughter a balm. Lily and Jerry filled my weekends, Jerry's toy trucks scattered across my floor, his chatter a reminder that life could be loud and joyful. One evening, Lily sipped wine with me in the kitchen. "Dad's been texting," she said cautiously. "Says he's sorry, wants to come back." I looked out the window, where rain had given way to stars. "He writes me, too," I admitted. I don't answer. "Would you let him?" she asked. I thought of Daniel's smile, the one I'd loved, now faded in my memory. "No," I said. I thought losing him would break me, but it didn't. I was scared of being alone, but now I know what's worse, living with someone who doesn't see you. Lily squeezed my hand. I felt steady, not empty, like I'd finally found my own ground to stand on. The next day, Daniel came to see Jerry, right on time at 2 p.m. I opened the door, and for a moment, I didn't recognize him, his face gaunt, eyes dull, shoulders slumped. "Hey, Karen," he croaked. "Hey," I said, stepping aside. "Lily and Jerry are inside." I grabbed my coat, ready to leave, but he touched my arm. "Wait. I'm sorry. I ruined everything." His voice broke, tears in his eyes. I looked at him, the man I'd loved for so long, now a shadow. "We both lost something, Daniel," I said gently. "But I found myself." I walked out into the drizzle, the same Seattle rain that had marked my pain months ago. Now it felt clean, like it was washing away the last of the past. I strolled through Cedar Park, the cedar trees whispering promises of spring. Later, I'd have dinner with Mia, laugh with Jerry, maybe paint something new. My life was mine now, a canvas I was learning to fill with my own colors. To everyone who's walked this journey with me, thank you. You've seen my tears, my fight, and my first steps into freedom. If my story hit you, hit that subscribe button and join us. Every moment we share is a brushstroke of pain, courage, and new beginnings. Keep painting your own story, and I'll meet you in the next one.